But let's talk about Mariah May. She has officially left AEW. That was kind of actually going to be my top story here. And that's when I texted Mr. Marceau, getting ready to eat my hat on Tuesday. That's what I said. I'll give you props publicly on the show on Tuesday. But it came out from PW Insider on Friday among all the other outlets. Mariah May was taken off of the AEW roster page. And that led people to believe, okay, she's probably gone from AEW, but maybe not completely. Like sometimes they take people off the roster page, but they're not yet gone from the company. Like maybe her contract will expire in August. Maybe it'll expire in July. Apparently it expired on June 1st because she was there on fucking June 3rd on Tuesday on NXT television. So a lot to break down here, Mr. Marceau. But again, like I said, I cannot emphasize enough. You were right. You saw this coming a few months ago. Mariah May is now in WWE. What's your immediate reaction?
I was right. You were wrong. I'm good looking. You're not. But no, I mean, once they said JC Jane was, like you said, she was like addressing the crowd of the NXT women's division, you knew something was going to happen. I was on Twitter. Luckily, it literally was like a minute after I clicked on Twitter, I had the video already up. So I saw it. But no, I mean, I think I'm a little surprised she went NXT, but they did move a lot of people just from NXT to the main roster. So I think just going NXT first, getting your feet wet, kind of getting the whole WWE production style and all that stuff. I think that is important to kind of get there. In the ring wise, she's main roster ready already. So I don't expect a long tenure down in NXT, but I think getting there, becoming champion, getting her feet wet, it's fine. They just moved Stephanie, seemingly Jordan as well. So she's clearly the top dog in NXT, beat JC Jane. Sorry, not sorry. And then we'll move on.
Yeah, I think you mentioned the most important part right there as well a moment ago, that I think there's some discrepancy here from people that don't watch the product, that she is main roster ready. There is no arguing about that. But from a lot of people who solely watch AEW or just don't watch WWE, I've seen a lot of comments about how, why would they send her to developmental? Why did she go from winning the title at Wembley Stadium, which, by the way, was one show last year. They did 60,000. They don't do a tenth of that usually on the regular for their Dynamite shows and their Collision shows, just to kind of get that out of the way. But I saw a lot of that on Twitter on Tuesday and on Wednesday, respectively. Oh, how could she go from wrestling at Wembley Stadium to wrestling in a fucking warehouse? They've lost the plot with Mariah May. This makes no sense. I saw a lot of that, way more than I should have on Tuesday and Wednesday, like I said. But these people don't watch the show. They just called up a whole bunch of people to Raw and SmackDown. They just called up Julia. They called up Roxanne. They called up Stephanie on Monday. She won a Money in the Bank qualifier. Now, Jordan Grace is not yet on the main roster, but reportedly she's headed there. We talked about that last week. I'm not really sure why anyone would think that her moving to the main roster right now would be the right decision. She would immediately, in my opinion, get lost in the shuffle. Mariah May is great, but these are the same people that would complain, oh, why is she on Raw right now, getting lost in the shuffle, losing to friggin' Beef? No, she wouldn't be losing to BFAB, but, she would be on the show with really nothing to do. They would do the video package for her, not show her for 2 weeks. That's what would happen if she was called up right now. Put her in NXT first. Ricky Saints, they did the same thing. I'm not really sure why Ricky's getting the call up to the main roster before Ethan Page. That seems strange to me, but that's a different conversation. I think this is the right call. I mean, how long do you think tops she ends up in NXT? Because the report is that she's getting paid main roster money already. And usually those people, like Stephanie and like Ricky, maybe not Stephanie, but definitely Ricky among other people, Jordan Grace, were already getting paid main roster money to a certain degree. Is she there for 6 months? Is a year too long? And does she win the NXT Women's Championship first? I think you already said yes, though.
Yeah, I think, what's it, June? Wins the NXT title. I think you keep her down there until Rumble. She comes up in the Rumble, makes her main roster debut in the Rumble. Then you'd kind of transition her like we did with Roxanne. Actually transition her, though, not like she's in the Elimination Chamber, then we don't see her for 3 months, then she comes back. But, yeah, I think 6 months is good enough for me.
Yeah, I think 6 months is right about, around the time that she should end up on the main roster. Obviously, the landscape will change between now and then, but there a certain storyline feud that stands out to you as making the most sense to do with her when she gets called up? Because I had seen some people say you can have her involved with the Liv Dom thing, and she starts, flirting with Dom and getting Liv jealous, or working with
Roxanne's
Tiffany.
Already in that role, buddy.
Yeah, Roxanne's already in that role. That's what people have said. I'm just thinking, okay, let's have Dom cool down the Riz factor. He doesn't need to be flirting with every female on the women's roster. But you also have Tiffany Stratton on SmackDown, who's, I don't want to say a carbon copy of Mariah May. They're very similar. Tiffany had been around on a bigger stage even before Mariah May in AEW. But two very different personalities, but I can see the similarities there. You could do something with those two. Mariah May being a heel, Tiffany being a babyface, currently on SmackDown as the champion. Probably not by that point. But any feuds that stand out as making the most sense for her right out of the gate in WWE.
I think her losing to Charlotte at WrestleMania 42 probably makes the most sense to me right now. I'm just kidding, everyone. Just kidding. How to get the pop out there. No, I mean, I think her and Tiffany's kind of seems like the match made in heaven. That just seems like a go-to feud. They are similar, but are different in their own ways. I mean, any other women doesn't really pop out like must need, but I think any of the main women makes sense to me.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think any of the main women would make the most sense. Charlotte Flair. Honestly, you joke about that, but I could see that being a legit possibility where she loses to her at WrestleMania 42. Let's just prepare for that possibility right now. We did with Tiffany.
Clip it now.
Yeah, just start getting the tissues out now and start getting the, rants out now, because it could end up in a situation where she ends up beating Charlotte, as Tiffany did. But is Charlotte really going to lose 2 years in a row at WrestleMania? In the past, she is not. So I wouldn't be too optimistic about that. But at the same time, we'll see. I think she'll definitely be main roster bound soon enough. She is very good. My biggest holdup when we talked about this a couple of months ago, right after Revolution, was the fact that, and if you go back and listen to the clip, I maintain this, was that WWE is a much bigger pool. It's a much bigger pool anyway. But at the same time, though, with WWE, there's just so many women there as it stands right now. And this was at a time when we were talking about this, none of the women that were in NXT were in, they weren't on the main roster at that point. Now they're all on Raw and SmackDown. But I kind of figured Mariah May, why would she go to a bigger pool where she can get lost in the shuffle a bit more, whereas she can stay in AEW for a little bit longer, probably make great money, use WWE as a negotiating tactic, but then go to WWE when her contract expires the next time. And I guess I've since realized, and if she stayed in AEW, I feel like that would have made the most sense. That's still where I kind of feel like it's too soon to say whether she made the right call. But why were you thinking at the time that Mariah May belonged in WWE? Was it the fact that she already accomplished all that she could in AEW, or is WWE just the right fit for her, which it is, but the right fit for her right now?
I just feel like she kind of already hit her peak in AEW. She won the Owen tournament. She won the Women's Championship. She won in Wembley. She's from London or England area. So, I mean, at that point, you did those two big things. I mean, what else is there when the TBS – I mean, Mercedes ain't turning her over, so it's not like she's going to win that belt anytime soon. So, the fabulous Monet ain't losing. So, I mean, if she already won the main title, she won the Owen, she won the big show in her hometown. What else is there really for her left to do? I mean, I think her story with Tony was the pinnacle, and from there, it's what else do you do with her? So, I mean, I think it's always been known that she's been a big fan of WWE. I mean, we've seen the tweets and the posts, and she's always been a big WWE fan. So I think just using AEW to prop her up to that point, I mean, like you said, it is kind of like big fish, small pond. We'll see what happens when she's in with a lot of very talented women. But I think she'll fit well. I mean, Q3 cut should be coming soon, so the women's roster should go down a little bit. But I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah, we'll get to those departures. They had to part ways with a few people to kind of make way for Mariah May and NXT. That contract ain't cheap. They had to let go of a few people to make Mariah May
trying to let
money.
people know. I said, how do you think you're going to pay for Mariah May? See you later, R-Truth. See you later, Carlito.
See you later, Sarah Logan. She was another one gone this week as well. Yeah, listen, I mean, I think you're running AEW. It is pretty amazing. I said this at the time, and I said this on Twitter the other day. And I said at the time, I mean, a couple months ago when we discussed this originally. She had the perfect run in AEW. I mean, from the moment she debuted, she was in a storyline with the then AEW Women's Champion, who ended up becoming the Women's Champion soon after. But she was involved with Toni Storm from the very beginning, and they had a clear storyline where she would be her stalker, admirer, biggest fan, whatever, only to turn on her, which was always inevitable, one way or the other, whether it was Toni turning on Mariah or vice versa. It was Mariah turning on Toni ultimately, then beating her for the championship in her home country of England, holding it for 6-7 months, however long it was, and it wasn't the most amazing run of all time. She wasn't really featured like a top attraction on that show. She wasn't really headlining shows for the most part. She was having good matches, but there wasn't any really focus on her run. But for the most part, she had great matches, great character development, perfect mic skills, shitting on the division, lost the belt to Toni, had a rematch, the rubber match at Revolution that I mentioned, the Hollywood ending match, that literally was the ending of her run. And that was it. Like, I had seen some people say, oh, it's great to see her in WWE because AEW didn't know what to do with her. Brother, I mean, that's not the case at all. I mean, I'm pooping on AEW here when I'm saying, like, she belongs in WWE ultimately. But that's just not true, though. Like, the reason why she wasn't on the show was because she had already given her notice that she wasn't re-signing. If she re-signed with the company or indicated that she was sticking around, they would have had her on the show. Like, it's not a Wardlow situation.
But when you use her, like, she's been over, she was a champion, like, when you use her to, like, prop people up, like Megan Bain or, like, someone else that you're pushing to get, like, ahead a little bit, like, she was champion, you clearly liked her, she won, like,
True.
I think that's where people, like, kind of go after Tony, which I completely agree. His thoughts, like, oh, you're not renewing? Yep, I'm just going to put you away, we're not going to see you, whatever. It's, like, same with, like, the Lucha Brothers and stuff like that. It's, like, these people are established stars, so if you're trying to build up new people, why wouldn't you use them to then put them over?
That's a good point, and I'm okay with that. I like, personally, this does not happen often. It's kind of like the Ricochet thing, where when he left WWE, they knew he wasn't resigning. They probably thought that they can get him back, which they didn't. But they used him on his way out to put over Braun Breaker. So he lost to Braun Breaker, got destroyed by Breaker in the parking lot, and he was kind of written off. That doesn't happen often. Usually when people get released or they don't get renewed, like R-Truth, I mean, they put over people on the way out, but, like, you don't know that.
Match John over.
Yeah, but then he also put over JC Mateo, which he should have. But, like, it didn't feel like the end. Because wrestling is a television show at the end of the day. It's a movie type thing. We call it cinematic or whatever. Cinema. But a lot of the times, characters don't have actual endings in these companies. They don't have actual endings for their arcs on these television shows. It's a small nitpick thing, but I thought it was actually perfect that her last match was actually the Hollywood ending match. Yeah, they could have used her to put over, like, Megan Bain, like you said, or Mercedes, that match they never did before she left. I agree with that. I mean, Mercedes wouldn't have benefited. She's already the fucking TBS champion, but I understand what you're saying. It just doesn't bother me because she went out on such a high note that just to bring her back to put over other people, and that was only 2-3 months ago. It's not like the Ricky Starks thing was egregious. Like, his contract expired in February. Or his contract didn't even expire. They let him go. They willingly gave him his release. He was off the show for a fucking year. I mean, that's just stupid to me. Like, Vince McMahon at one point would do the same thing where, like, oh, you're not going to resign next year? We're just not going to put you on the show. Like, that's dumb to me. But Mariah May was on her way out. She had a couple months left. I was okay with that. But like I said, she had the perfect run in AEW. She was immediately featured on the show, focused on the show, became champion, lost the title off the show in WWE now. The same thing kind of happened. She kind of followed in the footsteps a little bit to a certain degree of Jade Cargill, who also came in as a big deal, immediately won the TBS championship about within a year, but, that first year she was undefeated. Went undefeated almost the entire time that she was in AEW, lost the title. She was off the show for a few months. They knew she wasn't re-signing, so they actually brought her back for a week or two, put over Chris Statlander again, and then she was gone and signed with WWE within days. And they put it on their website that she signed with WWE. We actually broke the news here on the show at that point a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. Do you think Tony Khan, maybe not with the women specifically, do you think he'll be hesitant to push certain people going forward, knowing that they're going to be using AEW as a negotiating tactic? You're nodding your head yes aggressively. Tell me why you think that is.
I mean, it's happened to him twice now. He's been burned twice. I mean, I think with the whole Jade Cargill thing, like, maybe, I mean, the problem is, I think with the people that haven't been in WWE, specifically both of them, like, his thought was, like, I can offer them more money, but at the end of the day, you can't offer, like, that. Money's great, but, like, they're going there for a specific reason. Like, you can't offer them that specific reason, so they're going to leave regardless of the money. Like, they might not be making as much money as you're offering them, but they're still going to be, one, making good money, and two, they're offering them a bigger platform, which you currently don't have. I think, like you said, I think it will make him hesitant, especially if someone's contract might be coming up to, like, maybe hopefully re-sign them to then push them, because it's happened twice now. I think you would have, I mean, unless you're an idiot, you would have to be hesitant to push someone that's on, like, a contract that could be expiring soon.
I mean, there's been several people that are now in WWE. I mean, even CM Punk, that thing kind of played out a bit differently, but CM Punk was their world champion twice. He was a featured, focused part of the show, and they had to fire him just due to what happened a few years ago at All In, Brawl Out, whatever the fuck. But at the same time, I mean, he ended up going back to WWE, And now he's one of the biggest stars in the company. I mean, this isn't just a female, I don't want to say issue, but it's happened specifically with two of their top original stars on AEW television. Jade Cargill, a former TBS champion, Mariah May, a former AEW women's champion. I mean, do you then not take chances on people? I agree with what you're saying. Do you think that he, should not take the chances, or you just feel like he won't?
I think you should, but you also need to, like I said, you need to like also protect yourself. The problem, it's tough because it's like at the end of the day, it's like when you're number 2, yes, you can prop someone up, but if you prop them up enough, they can then be like, oh, I'm big enough to then try to go to number 1. I mean, that's kind of like the one thing with using like ex-WWE people is like they've already been there. So, I mean, not that there's no chance of going back, but like if you prop them up and make them champion, maybe they're less likely to go back.
Mm-hmm.
But with like someone younger, like Jade, like Mariah May, I think it's if they haven't been there before, I think they like, oh, I want to be on the big stage, and like obviously it might not work out, but like you still like want the chance to work for the biggest company if there's a chance.
I also think there's something to be said, too, because I had seen someone say, Jon Moxley's the only loyal one left in AEW. He showed up. He's not going anywhere. I would probably put Swerve in that conversation, too. I'm not sure Swerve's ever going anywhere. He could have easily left when his contract expired most recently, but he decided to resign. He's going to be there for another 4 or 5 years. But honestly, at the end of the day, like the idea that this company, this goes with AEW and WWE, or really any company in general. This company gave you everything. They gave you all this money. They gave you all these opportunities. You should be loyal to them. Bro, these companies are not loyal to you. No wrestling company is loyal to you. At the end of the day, it's just a job. I don't really understand why people have this undying loyalty to whatever the fucking letters are in front of that promotion, whether it be WWE or AEW. Like they think to themselves, oh, Jon Moxley's my favorite wrestler. Mariah May's there's been so much vitriol towards Mariah May for going to WWE. Who cares? That was ultimately her dream. There's people that want to leave WWE to go to AEW. Who gives a shit? At the end of the day, if they know they'll be happier and probably make more money in that other promotion, I don't really see what the big deal of it is, especially if it makes sense. Like the Mariah May one, I'm still slightly skeptical on, depending on her long-term outlook. I feel like she'll be fine. Obviously, she's a star. But like there was so much hate towards Mariah May for going to WWE. For what reason? It was her dream. She made that clear in those pictures that you were talking about, like her post on Twitter fucking 5, 6, 7 years ago. This is hardly a shock. She was going to be there at some point. It just happened a lot sooner than I thought it would. So I think the whole loyalty thing is dumb because, I mean, R-Truth, he was loyal to that company for 20 years. They just said, hey, see ya, pal. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. They don't give a fuck about you. TKO specifically doesn't care. But why should I be loyal to a WWE or an AEW if they're not going to be loyal to me? That just doesn't make sense to me personally.
I mean, define loyalty, I guess, at the end of the day. Like, yes, R-Truth, they just like, yeah, see you later, bud. But like, he hasn't done shit in the last probably 10 years. He's been stealing a paycheck realistically. So,
Hey.
I mean, it is one of those things like, yeah, there is loyalty, but at the end of the day, there is like, you got to make business decisions at the end of the day. So, yeah. I mean,
and we'll get
like
into
you said, at the end of the day, it's a business, and pretty much everyone's expendable.
Yeah, I don't know, just the idea that, Tony Khan put all this effort into building up Mariah May. He made her a star. Why wouldn't you stay? Like, he made you a star. No, she has to do what's not best for AEW or do what's best in the interest of Tony Khan. She has to do what's best in the interest of herself, of Mariah May. Tony Khan, not Vince, he's gone, thankfully, but Triple H, TKO, they're going to do, whether we agree with it or not, are going to do what they feel is in the best interest of them because they own the company. That's what any company, corporate owner will do. I'm not defending people like that. I'm just saying that's what just human nature is, and I can understand it to a certain degree.
It's a business, people. It's a business at the end of the day. You got to make money, and it's that the thing is, like, I feel like now maybe more people are realizing, like, at the end of the day, it is a business. Like, yes, it is a wrestling company, but at the end of the day, they are a business. They are trying to make money, and at the end of the day, they'll do anything to protect that.
Yeah, exactly. It goes both ways. Not only for the companies themselves, but also the wrestlers, in my opinion, too. I'll go back to their chats in a moment, but I do want to mention this one last one before I go to the departures. Johnny mentioned, I think this brings up a good question, Tony should sign people to longer deals, especially if they are in their 20s. So this is a great comment/question because how many times have I sat here, or we've sat here, Mr. Marceau, saying, why the fuck would this person in AEW, like Malachi Black, or this guy, that guy, or even in WWE, why would they sign a 5-year deal? Unless you're like, you know that you're going to be there long term, I think 5-year deals are just dumb because there's no assurance. One, that they won't fire you, specifically in WWE before that. It really just benefits the company and not yourself. And two, like, I feel like a 3-year deal makes more sense. But obviously, in the case of you have a lot of money in front of you, a lot of these wrestlers, I'm sure, don't work with lawyers or agents. They're just going to go with the first deal that's made. I can understand that, especially if you're newer. But if you're more established, why would you sign like a 5-year deal? I think people were shitting on Tony Khan. Oh, he should have signed her for 3 years or 4 years. Mariah May, if I was her, why the fuck would I want to sign a 4-year deal? I mean, that would take her into her late 20s. At this point, it was perfect. It benefited her. Doesn't really benefit AEW. What do you think the ideal contract length is? And does it kind of depend on the person and situation?
I think it depends. It's definitely a tougher situation. I think if you're a made person, I would say if you're made, you'd take the longer deal just because you're already made at that point. Like, if it's 5 years, whatever, you get paid 5. Like, you have security
Swerve, to
there.
me, makes sense. The Swerve
it's already a made person, so regardless of the booking. The problem is, it's like tougher with the younger people because, like you're saying, like, you're coming up, like, you see the money. So it's like, depending on your situation, like, you might see the money, like, hey, even though it's 5 years, I'll be making a ton of money.
Yeah.
But, like, realistically, I would say, like, 2 to 3 years is probably, like, the sweet spot because if you're getting pushed and you have a good year or two in there, it's like, okay, now I'm up for contract again. I can, like, pivot if I want or, like, look at other options. Now, if it's, like, 3 or 4 years, you have a good couple of 1 or 2 years, and then it's like, if your booking goes down the tubes or you get hurt or something like that, then it's like, then you're kind of stuck at that point. So, but then, like you said, you're younger, so you're probably looking more at the money. You're not really thinking of the bigger picture. I think 2 to 3 years, I would say, for like someone that's like in the middle would probably be the sweet spot, I think. Because after a year or two, you would know where your booking is, most likely.
Exactly, I agree. Honestly, that includes the established people, but I can agree with that as well. After 2-3 years, the company as well, they'll know, okay, this is someone that we want to resign, or maybe they're not going to want to go anywhere. We can offer them a longer deal. I think the 5-year deal is just ridiculous because they might be pushed or utilized well for that first year or two, and then they're sitting on the bench for the next 3 years because you're not happy or they're not happy. They're not getting what they feel is worth the investment, and you're just sitting there like, Ricky Starks is just like, he was pushed pretty well for the first few years. That last year or two, he was doing fucking nothing. The guy was barely on the show, but they're stuck there because they can't leave. And Tony Khan,
tough. No, it's tough. You know? It definitely is tough. I mean, I think, like you said, I think that's when they've been these recent releases. They look at it and like, do we really need this person?
Yeah.
No. Okay, move on.
And in WWE's case, again, it benefits WWE. When you sign those 5-year deals, AEW will be a little bit different. They won't just fire people. They'll let until their contracts expire, which is nice because at least they're getting paid until the end. But in a lot of cases in WWE, they'll just fucking release you. They do not give a shit. They'll sign you for a 3-year deal. You'll just resign a couple months ago, and then they'll let you go. I'm like, okay, then what was even the point of resigning you a couple months ago? It's like the illusion that you have job security in that company when you really don't.